Welcome back to the Power of You Summit. I am your host, Phyllis King, where we are speaking with 13 experts in the field of personal and spiritual growth and health and wellness. And today, our very special expert is Ilianna Rossetti. And let me get my glasses on to share all of her important information with you. First of all, she has a fascinating story because her career actually began in the performing arts, in the theater, and she was a singer using her voice. Her life was one of training and performing competitively and professionally on Broadway. Yep. And as a pinnacle moment in her career, she received a callback for a lead role in a national tour. This was a thrilling moment and would be for any artist. But during the callback, without warning, she became emotionally and physically paralyzed. She couldn't control her body and she couldn't complete her callback audition. Later, she would discover she was suffering from a severe form of PTSD. PTSD caused from years of pushing away grief, from betrayal she'd suffered, and witnessing the horrific events of 9/11 from her own bedroom window. So Ilianna had a wake-up call that set her on a profound healing journey, a journey which ultimately brought her to a new passion. And that's her career today as a functional nutrition and wellness coach. And even though she still sings for pleasure, she spends her days now helping others develop healthy and happy relationships with their mind and their body. Wow, Ilianna, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Phyllis. It's so wonderful to be here with everyone. And yeah, it was a lot.
That is quite a story. And there's probably so much more, many layers that we could probably discuss. But, in your own words, just share with listeners and viewers what it was like to live that for you. And now that you're a nutritionist, a functional nutritionist and coach, how that feels today.
Yes. Well, gosh, at the time, I don't think I could think too much about anything that was happening. It was complete survival mode and putting one foot in front of the next. And thankfully, I've always had my faith. And had I not had the theater, I mean, that became my buoy, like, which obviously that was going to go down at some point. Uh, but that's what I held on to with two hands. And then,
Well, it
uh,
seemed like that really kept you afloat until you either had the courage or the desire or whatever it was to finally say, "Oh, there's some things here I need to attend to."
yeah, I mean, really, it was the darkest place to lose one person, and watch one person suffer. That's agonizing enough, but like to go from soulmate to soulmate to soulmate, like just having to keep up with continuous goodbyes and so many different kinds of cancers. And it was really, I mean, I was in a dark place. That's the best way that I can put it. It was a terribly dark place. And it got to a point where I was so completely cut off after I lost my best friend who had an aggressive form of cancer. And she was the one who I went to New York with and went to the Broadway theater. But when she left, at that point, I just got completely
Oh,
closed.
well, that makes a lot of sense because the support mechanism you had to kind of rely on each other was done, and it was just you at that point. But I would think also, I mean, having being an artist and having this incredible opportunity extended to you and not be able to take advantage of it, was it a blessing? Was it a curse? Was it both? How do you view it now as you reflect
It was
on those years?
it was a heartbreaking gift, truly, because I mean, I learned so much from that moment on. I mean, it was like I did my graduate school for nutrition, but the healing journey was a graduate school in itself, And from that callback for the national tour, I froze in the moment, but it wasn't me, it was my body that froze. And I didn't know at the time how powerful that the brain is over the body.
Mm.
I see that a lot in my patients, especially within, gut disorders and IBS and Crohn's and even post-COVID with the chronic coughs that people have. I mean, the brain has so much control over what's happening, and it was a really big learning experience. And
Well, at what point did you get to the diagnosis, as you call it, as a severe form of PTSD? How did you, I mean, it was just an unlayering or part of the journey? I mean, how did you come to know that that's actually what you were suffering from?
I mean, there was a really long healing journey. So
Oh,
my
okay.
journey hadn't started off there. My journey had first started off when I was helping my grandfather, and he was dying of colon cancer. And
Oh,
it was just, it was so, watching him in pain, it was so stressful, and stress itself can send your own cells into chaos. And for
yeah.
me, it triggered an autoimmune response. And I blew up with my own weight at the time. And I'm petite. I'm only 5'3", but I instantly put on almost 30 pounds.
Oh,
And from there started working with a nutritionist, because in the world of theater, it's very competitive. You have to keep your weight down. I knew I was not going to do that through any kind of an eating disorder. So I worked closely with her. I was one big puzzle to every medical doctor that I went to. No one could figure out what was happening. And working with her and really just paying attention to myself and being my own detective, I was able to figure out what was triggering me environmentally, how I was able to empower myself to take hold of my health, and be my own health advocate, which is what I really teach each of my patients to do and to be.
well,
Uh,
and this is one of the things I love about your practice and your approach. And not only are you, as you said, teaching your patients how to be their own investigators and advocates, you have lived it yourself. I mean, it's not like you're saying that you really have your own experience to draw upon, in addition to all of your credentials, that you can understand what they're going through and help lead them to their own answers. And so you talk about what you deal with in your practice currently.
my work with patients, I mean, all of my work with patients is really um, to help them know their body, to understand what really helps them to thrive. Um, each person is so different. So, really, with each individual, I'm continuing to learn so much.
Hmm.
And it's really fascinating, but mostly I'm focused on, an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, whatever that means for the person. Everyone thrives with different things. Some people are great vegan, some people are great, Mediterranean or paleo, and that really doesn't matter. What matters is being able to understand and discover what each person personally needs.
But
Um,
I would also think that as you also had a situation where you had to release weight that you gained on your small frame,
Mhm.
that's an area of your business or your practice that you attend to at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, weight loss is one of the biggest goals that people come to today, and it's so fun. I mean, yes, it's stressful when you're yo-yoing all over the place, but talk about a way to just feel good about yourself and be empowered, because um I don't do diets with anyone. I don't believe in diets. I think they're terrible for self-esteem. There's no diet that's going to build up your self-confidence, and no diet that you're going to stick to forever. So with each person, I'm really building a unique plan, and helping to build up their self-confidence as they're moving along, like their self-confidence, their purpose, their happiness in life. This has to be the top of the totem pole.
Mhm.
And we see this across the board in longevity studies. And if anybody has read the book on the blue zones, or even seen the
Mhm.
documentary now that's on Netflix, all of
Mhm.
these things, they're integral, like
Mhm.
faith and purpose and happiness and community. And I really love drawing that in for everyone.
Well, and I love that you're focusing on the whole person, the whole being, because that's what you learned from your own experience in a very significant way that we have to do. And so it's so perfect because this topic we're doing here in the summit about power, what is power? How do we become empowered? Which essentially you're doing in a very different way than most of us would think. But what does that mean to you? And do you think of yourself as empowering your clients? And do they feel more empowered after working with you? Talk to us about what that means.
Well, as they're going through wins and they're hitting their goals and they're believing more and more in themselves, I mean, this is more empowering than, I can't imagine anything more empowering than that, when you're seeing your success right in front of you. Um, I had to really find it for myself first before I think I was able to do it successfully for others. And I reconnecting with the things that I loved and reconnecting with my own voice and
Mm-hmm.
vocal therapy and all of those things that I went through. I think that they really helped to enable me to do this now for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so special because, I mean, in the theater, one of the things that I love most about it is that there's this beautiful soul connection that's there that you have, between the other actors, between the audience, and it's alive. There's so much aliveness there.
Mm-hmm.
And in my work now, I can bring that all in and now just really help people with their own process and with their own healing. And even a patient that I spoke to earlier today, I mean, she was feeling down on herself. And then I was like, wait a minute, let's really look at this. Like, we got to take a step back here because when you first got in touch with me, like she had all this weight she wanted to lose, and she wasn't able to sleep through a night because she would wake up with heart palpitations, and it was really terrifying for her. And she has a small child, so she needs to be okay for the child. But she had all of these different symptoms going on, and we had to take a step back together today and say, wait a second, let's look at this. Like, you're down 60 pounds.
Oh my
You
goodness.
are able to sleep. You have no heart palpitations. Your
Wow.
hormones are in balance. I mean, there's this is what it's all about. This is like the magic of it all. People want a magic pill, but there's no magic pill. The magic is in your lifestyle and really understanding how to help yourself to thrive and be in charge of your health.
Well, and the reason I love you as the representative for health wellness in this regard is because, uh, you know, in our country, we're so wealthy in many ways, but we have a lot of choices for food, of many which are not good for us, and we aren't necessarily encouraged to take care of ourselves unless it's some form of punishment. You better do this or else. And you have such a compassionate and caring way you work with people. You would never have anyone feel like this is like you said, this not a diet. It's something that to embrace in terms of a lifestyle and giving to oneself and just being well in general. And I love that you can do that for people.
Me too. Phyllis, me
Well, and I've
too.
noticed I did happen to see that you have a huge number of gratitude statements from people you've worked with. You have an amazing success rate with people and weight loss. And I know you do detoxifications, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but it's pretty extraordinary the kind of success you have because most people don't have success with weight loss.
I really truly believe it comes down to our environment and whatever that means, whether that's, stress of our everyday in work, in home, in family, or if that really comes down to, the foods that we're eating, the water that we're drinking, the air that we're breathing. I mean, we have so much going on in the environment, and all of those environmental stressors, that's what's going to trigger dis-ease to happen within the cells,
Mhm.
and that's what's going to bring the inflammation up and throw the gut out of balance, and the cascade begins.
Wow. Well, and I've heard this over the years, and maybe you can tell me if it's true or not, but I always hear that often if you have a precipitating event like a loss or a breakup or something of that nature, soon thereafter, the body manifests something. Is that true?
Meaning,
That they manifest
that's
some
the
health
trigger.
condition?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I believe that that's what happened even with myself and having that switch for autoimmune disease going on. And, you know, I had never had a weight issue before in my life. And then all of a sudden, the amount of stress that happened, it's, I mean, most of the time, if people are having trouble with weight loss, there's some kind of chaos that's going on within the cells. And I see this so many times with caregivers, especially, and people who are having a hard time putting themselves first, or breaking up a habit, even with sugar, which is just creating more and more and more inflammation within the body. But years ago, maybe not too long ago, actually, we liked to blame our family for
Yes.
the things that we would get, in life. Oh, but no, we can't blame our family or our genetics for this one. This really does, it comes down to the environment. I mean, we are all predisposed to so many different things, disorders, diseases, cancers, and the environment, whatever that means, the stress, the chemicals, the toxins, that's what's going to be responsible for flipping those switches on or off. So,
Fascinating. And I know you've done something remarkable for the Power of You Summit listeners as talk to us about this detoxification plan, which has a $99 value that listeners are getting for free. And its importance to the journey you think people need to take and also what it is.
yes, I mean, I thought it was just so fitting for this that I wanted to be able to provide this as a gift, because if there is anything that I have ever seen so empowering for a patient, it's this detox. And it was so wisely created. I mean, you go through this process where you're removing all of the allergens and you're removing the protein, and they talked about this in the beginning of the detoxification when I was studying it, and it was so brilliant because they removed all of these proteins so that you could actually bring down the inflammation that was in the body. And that's how the journey begins. Because if you really want to get answers about your body, if you really want to find out what environmental triggers are causing, some kind of an flare of inflammation or allergy or intolerance or who knows what, you have to bring down that inflammatory response first. So a lot of times I'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, I tried going dairy free for a little bit, or I tried removing gluten, or I tried staying away from sugar, but it really didn't change anything." But if there's a storm of inflammation in the body and the cells are in chaos, it's not going to matter if you remove that item. You have to,
Fascinating.
yes, you've got to be able to bring the inflammation down first and then go through a learning process of what your body needs to thrive.
Yeah.
And it's just, I see so many people have so much success doing this program. It's a lot of, time invested and meal planning, and you have to be very thoughtful about the process. But as much work as people put into it, I've never had anyone say, "Oh, I'll never do that again. Oh, I wish I didn't do that
Well,
program."
that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. And of course, all the gratitude statements I've seen around your website and other places, people are clearly getting answers working with you. So that's wonderful. And I know you have a lot of incredible classes and different things coming up. And there's a link on the Power of You Summit page. And I think they have to enter a specific code to not have to pay for the detoxification. I think it's Summit 24, and that is on the page as well. Well, this is all fascinating. We could talk to you for the next 2 hours because your wealth of information and your energy and your enthusiasm for this work is obvious. I guess in our closing moments here, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners or that you feel inspired to share?
Oh my goodness. So many things. I mean, gosh, just I would, for anyone who's struggling, for anyone who is yo-yoing back and forth or taking 5 steps forward and like 3 steps back, it's possible for it's possible to break that pattern. It is possible to take control of your life, and it is possible to feel alive and thrive. And there's just so much healing that's waiting to take place.
Mm.
And definitely the most important thing that I always tell everyone as we're working through this process, and for anyone who might also take advantage of the detoxification and try it out at home, it's that your happiness, it has to be at the top of the totem pole, and your self-confidence, it's worth every moment that you can invest. Because you're important, and we all need to be here helping one another. And definitely our food industry is not is not set up to help any of us right now. So it's really important to be able to understand our body and what we're thriving on, so that we can move away from that state of disease and really have that life and longevity that we deserve to have.
That's beautiful. Well, and I know so much information on your website, and I encourage people to visit that, and they will, of course, for the detoxification. But please remind us your website name.
It's nutritionalartistry.com.
Yeah, and I love this because you just remain the consummate artist. You still
Yes.
sing, you still love the theater in so many ways, and you bring that creativity to and love to your business. Well, Ilianna, thank you so much for being here today and sharing a little bit of your wisdom and wealth. And I look forward to people connecting with you and learning much more about you.
Well, Phyllis, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing me on here today. And I have so much gratitude in my heart. Thank you so much.
Of Well, thank you all for tuning in again today. And tomorrow we'll have another guest expert on the Power of You Summit. And again, have a wonderful day. I am your host, Phyllis King. Take care.